Hello and welcome to a tournament of lies. The weekly podcast where three friends around the globe attempt to rate every single video game in order of the bestness. I'm Danny in Oakland. Denis Walsh, you're back in Ireland. Welcome to the Northern Hemisphere. How was New Zealand?
Yeah, it's good to be back. New Zealand was great. Beautiful country. Had a lot of fun. Travel not so fun. Pretty arduous, but I'm back.
How long was the flight? How long does it take to get from Christchurch or wherever you are to Dublin?
So all in, from Cork, Ireland to Auckland took about 40 hours now. I can't remember, something in around 28 to 30 hours of flights and about 10 hours of arsing around airports. So yeah, each way was a bit of a killer, but it was worth it. Definitely worth it.
Yeah, and you also spent a bunch of time playing video games. I saw some hot tweets of Papo Yo being played in Sydney Airport.
Yeah, so I had my Xbox controller and my laptop, and I was able to play a few of our purgatory gems.
Yeah, that's actually what this week's one's going to be about. Apologies, we're a little bit late. We're supposed to record on Wednesday, but I had some life things I had to sort out, so we're recording. That makes it sound so like something tragic happened. I had theater tickets I forgot about. So
what you go see?
To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, real good. Very different watching it on a stage in the East Bay. I feel like the sort of the racial elements of that are way more close to home than they were when we were like reading it in school in Waterford in Ireland. Yeah.
Did you have to sneak out the back door? You suddenly felt like eyes looking at you from all the galleys, being like look at them.
I definitely felt like without getting into a big long thing about white guilt, there was definitely more of a feeling of like responsibility living in America, especially living in Oakland. With the sort of it was one of these funny things where you watch that play and you go, oh, so much has changed, and yet so much hasn't changed. Anyway, let's not talk about. We're not here to rate the top theater shows of all time. Not yet. We got a list of 15 video games which we have already rated. Super Mario World on top, Super Meat Boy number 2, Mario Strikers Charge number 3, Unreal Championship 2, the Leandri conflict sitting pretty at the bottom.
Oof. How is that settling? Are people in love with our bottom choice, or
no? That's actually probably the most contentious of the bunch. A lot of people thought. I think I mentioned the word port too much, and people think I was being a bit reductive. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if nothing else, this is a podcast about pissing people off, I guess.
I think the point that you made where you were like, look, it's that weird time. Really, like, you could make the argument Xbox 360 is when like console first-person shooters were relevant.
So everything before is awful. Halo 1, awful. GoldenEye. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, maybe a point. Maybe we'll have a new bottom of the list when GoldenEye comes along. Maybe I'll throw that spanner and get people really talking.
We have a bunch of games to get through from Purgatory. Denis, you were obviously flying around checking them out. James, I know you've been playing them too. I got some Wisdom Teeth out, so I got to actually sit down and play a bunch of one of them as well. So the three games we're going to talk about are Papo Yo, Sunset Overdrive, and Transistor, and that's going to basically be the sort of the meat and potatoes of this episode, which is going to be a shorter one just so we can get one out today. Next week's episode is going to go back to the grander list, and thank you so much to everyone else who's been chipping in suggestions via lies@atournamentoflies.com. We have had so many emails. It's been fantastic. Thank you so much to everyone who's been on iTunes as well, subscribing. We've got almost like over 1,000 downloads via that already, which is really cool on each episode, actually. More actually, about 3,000 all in, and loads of people watching on YouTube. So thanks so much. Loving all the suggestions for the list and suggestions for the show. So thank you so much for sending those in, gentlemen. Which one do you want to start with? I feel like the one that two of us have played Papo Yo at least, right?
Yes.
Okay, two of us have played Transistor.
Yes, we've all have, I believe.
I think we've all played some Transistor.
Yes, at some point.
Okay, let's start with Transistor then, because at least that's the one that we can all sort of speak to.
Okay.
So who played it? So I haven't played it in a year. I got a poster of it on my room in the back there, but I haven't actually played the game in, I guess, longer than a year and a half maybe. Who's played it most recently?
I think at the same time,
either
myself
of you.
and Denis, but I think Denis has probably played more than I have.
Yeah. So I certainly haven't completed it. I maybe put 3 or 4 hours into it. It's not a super long game as far as I can tell, so that's a reasonable amount of the game. But look, I think I'm going to upset you a little bit, Danny, but I didn't love it.
Really?
I didn't hate it, but I think we came at it from different angles with regards Bastion. So I played it after Bastion. You played Transistor and then went back to Bastion. Is that right?
I never played Bastion.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I love Bastion. I think it's a great game, and this has a lot of the stuff that's really good in it, but maybe not all of it. And I just found it a little touch repetitive, but it's still as slick as all hell. It's definitely gorgeous to look at. It is beautiful just to listen to. I certainly give it that. I don't know, just a couple of things that didn't catch me. The storyline was just super washy. I don't know if that was supposed to be particularly good or not, but it didn't capture my attention. I didn't want to keep playing a whole lot. I was kind of forcing myself to play. Combat was pretty good, but I didn't think it had a whole lot of depth. Maybe I didn't get it. Maybe I wasn't perfectly kind of good enough. But I struggled to love it.
James, what about yourself?
I pretty much agree with Dennis. I'm afraid. I'm feeling you're gonna like counterpoint this, Danny, and that's fine too. And I remember like the context of it coming out and it getting like great accolades and good fanfare. It was definitely a game that has been on my list for a long time to go and play because of the accolades, because of like how it looks. Like I will say first out, it is a gorgeous game. Like I can't take it away. It's just beautiful to look at. I just feel that's very shallow, and that's sort of the glass ceiling. It's sort of it. It's a beautiful game. I just was not connected from the get go. The narrator annoyed me more than anything else, and I didn't get too deep. Honestly, I didn't get too deep into it. I just don't know. I was shocked. I honestly thought it was something that I would love and jump into and enjoy.
Did you play Bastion?
I didn't actually, no.
Okay.
But,
so we're covering it from all sides then, in a way, because I didn't play Bastion, and I think the reason why I like this game so much is very much informed by not having played Bastion. From talking to people after I played it, a lot of the things that I enjoyed about Transistor, people said, oh, I preferred that in Bastion, whereas to me, I was coming to it completely fresh. So I am, first of all, like style can like make you win, like love or hate a game, and I feel like there's games like Hotline Miami and stuff which like are very much sort of style over substance, and well maybe that's unfair, but like very that's fair. Style can help a lot, and the style of Transistor, the music, like you're saying, Dennis, and the art would like I just felt it like enveloped me, like I fell in love with it completely. And then I'd never played a game with that sort of mix match between isometric action and then the sort of turn-based strategic element to it. So I think that, and the fact that like the thing I like the most, and it kind of what would you say, it's like the curve is kind of whatever you call it, like exponential or whatever, when you keep unlocking the various mods or whatever they're called, the way you combine them, because you already have a bunch, the later in the game the kind of more mental that whole thing gets. But I also heard people say that they sort of didn't really think there was that depth to it. I don't think I'm the best person to talk to the sort of isometric action genre. Like even games like Diablo I've played like a decent amount but not a lot of. So I think, I never played like Final Fantasy Tactics or anything like that. So to me, I think I kind of adored this game because it was a really, really pretty version of a genre I hadn't really done before.
Yeah. No, I think there's I wouldn't say it's a terrible game, but I think I was just taken aback for something like, as I said, like I wanted to play this game, and so I was like, oh, this is a perfect excuse to go back, play it, like now I can sit down and do it, and it just, I agree with Dennis, it almost started turning to that point of just work, like it was like slightly daunting where it's like, oh, I should chip away at like Transistor for another little bit, and I don't know, it just, for me anyway, I do love the way it looked, but it just was missing something for me. Maybe it just, I don't know. It just maybe to the part I got to, it was a bit repetitive, and there's just that element of the story I was kind of like, eh. But
it sounds like the opposite of what I had, which is that like I connected with it in a sort of a very superficial way, and you didn't connect with it on that same superficial way. And it's hard to play a game if you don't have that connection.
True. Just wondering as well, what did you play it on? Did you play it on a console or did you play it on PC?
Oh, I think I might have originally played it on PlayStation 4.
Because I wonder if. Yeah, I wonder if that helps. Like, because I mean, that's the one thing I do feel that like, the way I played it on PC, maybe it would have been better if I was sitting on a couch, just relaxing, playing it, just sort of knocking it through. Like,
Come to think of it, come to think of it, maybe playing it in Sydney Airport on a laptop
Yeah.
wasn't ideal. You might
But,
be onto something there, James.
Yeah, I mean, maybe me standing at a desk, sort of like with a controller, just sort of like getting through it, maybe wasn't the best thing. And there was a few times that, like, if it was on like a handheld or something, or like, because I think it's an iPad and a few other things. Like if I was just sitting down lounging, knocking it out for 20 minutes, passing time, I could enjoy it more. Not terrible. I do wonder what happened that it made it such a darling a year or so when it came out.
It's weird. Yeah, I mean, Bastion has reviewed better than it.
Okay.
Has it?
That's
I didn't know that.
The Metacritic for it is it got higher at GameSpot, but I just checked the Metacritic and it's like 4 or 5 for Bastion and kind of 4 out of 4.5 against 4 for Transistor. I mean, as much as Metacritic is, you can use it whatever way you want.
It's an aggregator. We'll accept that. Right. Well,
this is interesting.
Yeah. Well, I think can we start talking about placing it just because I think this is where, because I think myself and James maybe in some ways are being overly harsh. That being said, like I don't feel like it goes below about 5th. If I look at these games, like it's Jesus, it's definitely better than Angry Birds. So that's kind of split in the middle, right?
Is it though? Like, is
Surely.
it? I mean, like I feel like even on episode 2, and I was talking about, or maybe it was 1 when I was talking about this, that even I had, I can recognize that I enjoyed this game more than most people. Like, so I don't necessarily think that it's like, I love it to the point where I've got art on the wall, but like I get that it's not super great. So this is interesting though, because this is the first real game I think that we have very different sort of angles on.
Certainly.
Like to me, I feel like it can't really go above City of Heroes.
You see,
like I think it's under that, right? I don't know.
I haven't played City Heroes. I don't know whether. It's again. This is. Are we willing to endure getting eggs thrown at us for placing this? Is there part of us just trying to save our own skin and be the popular cool guys that put this game that reviewed well higher in the list than it probably deserves to go?
If nothing else, we are a gaggle of popular cool guys. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Well, look, it's maybe the best looking game that we've talked about so far. Firstly, that has to count for something.
Yeah.
Its audio is absolutely fantastic. It is it's a work of art. It's gorgeous to listen to. I felt like I was kind of playing through, like, I don't know, I don't listen to them enough, but like the intro to a Tool song or something continuously. It was just kind of it's atmospheric for days. So I would struggle to put behind something like City of Heroes, which was, I don't know, a bit of a mess, but a lot of fun at a time. But like, that kind of came out around the time. As soon as World of Warcraft came out, nobody cared about City of Heroes. That's the truth. Once there was an MMO worth playing, nobody ever played City of Heroes again. And City of Heroes died slowly.
I mean, I prefer Transistor to Call of Duty 2, personally.
Yeah, I'd put it above that. I'd put it
but I wouldn't put it above fucking City of Heroes. This list is a mess. Let's start again.
I know.
Start the list over. No, it's okay. There's plenty of time for that.
Is it better? Maybe it goes number 5 behind.
That's what I said at the beginning. I'd struggle to put it lower than 5. I think it's just better than all of those games, unfortunately.
Better than Pod Racer? Better than Spyro?
Yes.
Now I'm looking at this and being like, why the fuck did we put Pod Racer ahead of Spyro the Dragon?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of questions to be asked, but this is what it's all about. It's all about them lies. We've just been lying to ourselves and to everybody else.
Okay, so you guys you're thinking 5th and then knock Pod Racer down. Is that what you're thinking, Dennis? You're gonna veto that?
I think it goes in behind Crash Bandicoot.
I think so. I think it makes the top 5. Even though we kind of trashed it, I think it just...
it's weird that the person who likes it the most is the one that says it shouldn't go the highest.
I think you're just getting caught up in this anti-Transistor zeitgeist that we've gone after your pro. We're just about to watch you like slam that poster off the wall. Just
here's the thing, Danny. This is like one of your favorite games of the last couple of years, right?
It was my favorite game of that year, and it was 2014, and that year wasn't super great. I guess it was good enough.
I think it's top 5 game.
Oh no, 2014. Actually, 2014 wasn't that. 2014, Shadow of Mordor won the GameSpot Game of the Year, and I think it would have probably come 12th in 2015 because there were so many good games 2015.
That debate is for another day, but I disagree.
That's true.
Anyway.
That's true.
I think we found what happened with that infamous GameSpot gas leak that went on through the office and shut a Mordor and Transistor getting so high.
All right, so what you think there, James? You think there as well? Fifth above Pod Racer?
I think fifth is fine. Like again, in saying this, as much as I didn't love the game, there are a lot of elements I liked about it. I just think it's more. I just remember how well it did, and how excited I was. I think it was just
you can't vote it high just because it had this like PR campaign behind it.
No, I agree, and there's an element that it's good. What I'm trying to say is all the other shit beneath it on that list. It's better than that. Like, I didn't hate it. It wasn't like pulling my nails out, but it just was not as good as I thought it was going to be.
You're right. It's definitely better than the bottom 7. I'll say that. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think
move on.
Pod Racer. See, Pod Racer in my head has gone down now in like quality because I don't really know why. I got squeezed in there in episode 2. Crash Bandicoot. I mean, it's not better than Crash. Spyro, is it better than Spyro?
Yeah, I think so.
I guess Spyro's kind of one-dimensional. No pun intended.
It is better than Pod Racer. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I mean, if I was having a conversation with someone and they said which one's better, Pod Racer or Transistor, I'd say Transistor, you fucking moron. So yeah, I guess I should probably just go for that. Okay.
But if you were to say Crash Bandicoot or Transistor, it's kind of a no contest.
Yeah,
no contest may be unfair, but yeah, you're going to play Crash.
Okay, that's there. All right, let's move on to the next game in our list of purgatory of lies. Papo Yo, a charming little game which I think was made in Brazil, if I'm right, about a little boy and I guess his monster, which he has to sort of I guess placate and get through a 3D platforming world. Sort of an allegory for a relationship between a son and an abusive parent. You completed this, Dennis, did you?
I did, yes. I got through this. Not a very long game anyway, but...
How long is it? I played about 3 or 4 hours, I think. I felt like I was close.
So I might as well take this chance to hammer Steam, because Steam's offline mode doesn't count your time for some reason. Even though you're logged in, but offline, it won't count your time. So I have no idea. I have all the achievements if anybody wants to check, but I unfortunately I don't know how much time I put into it. I would say 4 to 5 hours to complete the thing, something like that. Let's say 4. It's good, and it's got some really, really nice little mechanics going on. And I don't know if you've played a bit, Danny.
Yeah, I feel like I got like 3/4 of the way through it.
And when you're moving around buildings by standing on a switch and stuff, even though it's it's not a technical marvel by any means, but even at that point, you're moving things around. It actually kind of looks pretty cool, and I found that really interesting. Puzzles were pretty much I don't think it was supposed to be a difficult game, but the puzzle element was like mostly super easy, and then once or twice where I had to look it up, I was just like, I will literally never complete this ever in my entire life if I was here for 100 years. I thought, though, I suppose that this game probably lives or dies on the kind of alcoholic abusive father allegory, and I thought that was pretty thin, and Jesus, like, I don't want to be too harsh on something for this, because I thought, it's good that people, talk about, and I would assume maybe their experiences or someone close to them's experience, but I think they maybe said some dangerous things, and near the end, there was kind of a whole, like, you just got to give up on them kind of thing. I thought that was a kind of a damaging message, but I thought anyway, I'm getting kind of off track. I think
that's part of it, totally, because the ending as well, without getting it spoiled, the ending, I know the ending, and the ending is very much has a sort of a singular message to it, which is quite strong. So I think that's definitely part of it.
But that's everybody else's different life, and they can have a different take on it. It's not for me to say. I thought it was kind of, I didn't know about this really, that it was all about that going into it. But I did, unless I had heard it without knowing it, or maybe we mentioned it on the podcast, possibly. But I kind of got the feeling pretty early that this was, I suppose, as soon as the monster starts kind of taking a turn, it kind of, maybe they deserve credit for that, actually. Maybe they deserve credit for the fact that straight away I was able to see what they were getting at. So there's something in that. But I did have fun playing the game. So I certainly don't hate it. It works. It was actually a little bit. I can't believe I just said it works, and I'm about to talk about how it didn't work quite often on my laptop. It crashed quite a bit. I
Right.
basically couldn't run it in 1080p. It was just like, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
Um,
I had one hard crash as well. It felt very much like a game that had been made by one person over a long period of time, but by one
Yeah.
person.
So yeah, so look, I'll drop the diatribe. Danny, what's your feel?
Yeah, very similar. I think it's a kind of it's a very simple puzzle platformer, environmental puzzle type of game. I think I like, again, the style was very unique. You were playing a character you don't usually tend to play, which is this young Brazilian sort of favela boy. I thought I was enjoying the sort of allegories as it was getting peeled back with the, like, you're giving him the fruit so he kind of wakes up, but then like the frogs is what he really wants, like that whole aspect of it. That was pretty cool.
That's good.
And you're right, some of the puzzles are very, like, the difficult thing about puzzles, I think, is that, like, do you ever hear about whenever Valve were working on Portal, they'd test the shit out of all their levels. They get people in and they get them to test it and they QA test everything. And I think, like, there was a couple of times in this where I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, you have not pointed me in any way the right direction, and there's like two options it could be, and it's neither of them. So I don't blame you for having to look stuff up, because one or two times where it was like, oh, that gate opened. Oh, I didn't know that gate opened. Like, I shouldn't have been running around here for 12 minutes. So yeah, in that way, it kind of feels like I feel like I've played that game a bunch of times, like a sort of an old schooly 3D platformer, but with a very unique sort of twist to it. So I was really charmed by it. It feels like, I think it's a game that probably is better off being as short as it is, because you couldn't keep that trick up for longer than four hours and change or whatever. And I think there's a lot to be. The reason I get why people are passionate about telling people about this game, because it is the type of game that if you like it a lot, then it touches you in a sort of a unique way. So similar kind of thing. It's technically loose. It's not doing anything crazy special, but it's very, like, unique, and that should be given some sort of credit, I guess.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
You didn't play it, James, did you? That was you missed out on it. No worries.
It sounds, now I will, after hearing how good it sounds.
And
Perfect.
just not in 1080.
Just not in 10. Yeah, keep it 720p and below.
All right, so I'm gonna take a swing at where this should go, and then open it up to Dennis, because I feel like Dennis is the stronger sell on this one, because he's actually completed it. For me, it kind of exists somewhere in the 9, 10, 11 area. Somewhere between City of Heroes, Angry Birds, Super Hexagon, and Excitebike. We did get some flack on Excitebike, actually. I'll say that. There were some
probably
NES
deservedly.
people.
Probably deservedly.
Yeah, maybe.
So.
It's a bit low.
Yeah, look, that's gonna absolutely be a first ballot. I can't remember the name of that segment we planned. First ballot, that segment we planned. Yeah, I think so too. Having not really played a whole lot of Super Hexagon, it feels like it's either side of those two kind of mobile games. As far as I'm concerned, it either slots in right ahead of the two of them or right behind the two of them.
So I think it splits them.
You think it splits them? For some reason, I was discounting that for no good reason. I don't think I have any major issue with that.
Yeah, I think Super Hexagon is a pretty simple game, and it does it well. I think I don't know. There's something about games that are that simple that it's just like they're almost like too simple. Whereas, I find it hard to say that Papo Yo is like not as good as that.
That's okay.
I don't know. Actually, maybe it does go, but actually no. Now that I think about it, actually I think Super Hexagon's probably tighter. Is if I would recommend either, I would recommend Super Hexagon.
Okay.
So yeah, maybe
below.
But is it better than Excitebike?
I was about to say, do we just continue to stomping on the Excitebike fights to get it higher up the list and just knock it down to 13?
I think it might be better than Gex, but not as good as Excitebike.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of okay with that. Like, Excitebike is at very least a classic, and for a reason. And I think maybe, I kind of, in my head, that's kind of the middle of the road for us. And Papo Yo is like, when you get down to like brass tacks, it's going to be a kind of average game. It's definitely charming. It's definitely a game that has a lot going for it, but like it's not a, again, like this is like there's a bunch of indie games that we're going to get to over the course of this podcast. You know, your Fezzes and things, and like it's going to be hard to like put it in that kind of category of a small indie game, but that's maybe slightly in its own way revolutionary. This was just a nice little puzzler that had a message, and definitely I appreciate that it was set somewhere that we just don't get to have a game, and set, I suppose, with a, I don't know, like you said, the protagonist was something very different, but yeah, I think above Gex.
Yeah, now I'm not so sure. Now I'm like looking at Gex and being like, fuck man, The Witcher's right there as well. Is it? Some people weren't happy about The Witcher stuff. The Witcher is like such a great little game, but like in 2016, I can't rate Witcher 1 anywhere.
Yeah, like, I mean, if you take nearly anybody we know and try to get them to play the original Witcher, it's just going to be an absolute disgrace. They're not going to be able to play it. Not the game, I mean the actual attempt at playing that game. Whereas, you know, pretty much anybody could pick up Papo Yo.
Yeah, you're right. I think in a post Dark Souls world as well, where like difficulty and character movement, they mean something else now in a way that like going back and playing The Witcher is just a bit of a fucking nightmare. Yeah, okay. Is it better? I don't know, Gex. You played both Gex and Papo Yo. Would you say the original Gex is not as good?
I'd have it above Gex. Like, I don't have any issue with Gex. Gex is, you know, non-offensive.
10-year-old Denis is crying right now.
Yeah, spending all his money on a rented PlayStation. No.
It's like, I don't care about poo-poo.
Let's slot it in at number 13. Let's be happy with that. That's it. That's my argument.
Papo Yo. It's there, number 13. Splitting our good friend Gex the Gecko and Excitebike. So we'll have to see about that. Okay, so the last game on this episode that we're going to talk about, and I guess I'm going to talk about it on my own.
Yes.
Is as both of you dodged the Xbox One bullet all those years ago and aren't owners. It's right now it's the only console I own because I still haven't fixed my PlayStation 4.
Oh yeah.
Which I really need to because my Wii U's there.
Yeah.
It's on top of my television, and the only thing it does every now and again, I played Mario Maker a couple of months back a bunch, but now all it does is every like night when I'm watching like a Netflix or something with Lynn's, it'll just like pop up with a commercial.
Yeah,
I have to stand up and turn it. Shut up. But anyway, I was the one who drew the straw on Sunset Overdrive, which is a game that came out in October of 2014, so quite a while ago. It only came out on Xbox One though.
Now, Danny, yes, it's exclusive. I had previously had a perception of this game of being almost like a, you know, totally radical dude going around. Maybe should listen to, you know, backwards baseball cap, listen to Limp Bizkit, some sort of people who didn't quite know what was happening in 2014.
Right.
And then came with this game. Was I really off the mark? Am I a fool? Did the advertising just turn me away from something that really was a classic?
So, Sunset Overdrive is a fucking really good game.
Okay.
And like, I'm so surprised by how much I enjoyed playing this game. I will say that I did it. This was basically my wisdom teeth game where I was sitting at home on like hydrocodone or something I was on. Yeah, I came off it after the third day because I was like, I want to feel again. And then this game is basically this like vivid, like vibrant, explosive, colorful orgy of like movement and stuff and graphics and all this sort of stuff. The easiest way to describe it is it's basically a like super vibrant version of Infamous. Do you ever play?
That is exactly the perception I had of it. Okay,
right. So it's like you are, instead of riding rails and stuff, you are riding electric poles and you are bouncing on cars that like leap you in the air, and you have all these like, you don't have powers, but you have access to these like ridiculous guns. Like one of them's got a teddy bear launcher that's got like bombs on it, and another one like shoots little gyrocopters that have guns attached to them, like pistols that they're like shooting at baddies and stuff. And you're basically going up against a bunch, like the setup for the game. You're right. The marketing for this game I thought was like, oh god, it's like trying to be super cool and radical and shit and tubular. and it's just like awful. But it's like super, super self-aware. So the whole setup for the game is that there's some sort of energy drink which everyone loves in the town, and basically this new version of the energy drink accidentally turns everyone into these like weird fucking zombies.
Nice.
So everyone else gets out. There's this big like energy drink party where like there's like this dead mouse style guy who's dressed up as a can, and this other person, and like they all these like awful like yuppies basically are like drinking this can and like loving life, and then they all turn into zombies. So it's pretty funny because you're basically just like murdering all these assholes the whole way through the game. The story's like surprisingly like funny, like the writing is surprisingly good. The movement is like, I played this and I played the Mirror's Edge preview that we got in work, and like both games are about movement, and the Mirror's Edge thing felt like, oh, it's just Mirror's Edge again, that's fine. And I think I actually hated it more because I'd been playing a week of Sunset Overdrive, which is just like the most, it like nails it. It's better than Infamous in terms of movement. It's like you're jumping on cars, you're bouncing on parasols, you're like speeding up and grinding along electrical poles, and then you're using that, while you're doing that, you're like shooting dudes and trying to figure out where to go, and there's loads of collectibles in the world, and then there's these side missions. And Sunset Overdrive is a genuinely really, really good game. Like it's top 5 Xbox One games ever by easily. And like I heard people say that to me, and I was like, I don't fucking know. Like,
yeah,
it you know, like Infamous and all those games came out like back in whatever 2008, 2009. That was when all that was happening, right? All that like movement and stuff. And I was like, oh, it's just gonna be another one of those. But it's actually probably the best one of those ever made. It's so good. So I loved it. If you own an Xbox One and you're watching this and you haven't bought Sunset Overdrive, fucking get it. The worst thing actually was it was free with Games with Gold last month. So if you had an Xbox Live Gold subscription, it was actually free. I bought it on Amazon before I realized. So I have a copy of it, and then I actually accidentally sent it back with one of our Netflix DVDs. So I had to wait a couple of days. Yeah.
Oh no.
But it arrived back, thankfully. Play it. It's good.
Yeah, I mean it's almost that bittersweet thing that it's an Xbox One exclusive then, by the sense of it.
Do you not know why I mean, it was some sort of exclusivity deal, but like Insomniac made it. It wasn't Microsoft, so I don't know why this never came out on PC. Because if this came out on PC tomorrow, like I think a load of people will buy it. It still looks great too. It's also, I think, the best looking Xbox One game I've ever played.
Yeah, it looked. That's the only thing I know, because without having an Xbox, I can still watch videos. It looked great. It looked really good. So. And
it came out in 2014. So can you like look at any other console game on either console that came out in 2014, like year one of the console, and tell me it looks anywhere near as good as Sunset Overdrive does? Yeah, it's really good. I probably spent about, I don't know, like 15, 20 hours or something over the course of that. Like, and I was basically in bed the whole time. So anytime I wasn't in bed, I was playing Sunset Overdrive, and I've gone back a bunch as well.
And
Super
there's
good.
no way the drugs affected this.
The drugs were downers. So if anything, maybe I'd enjoyed it even more. There was that element of like, life is so dull because I'm on these things, and this game like brought me back to life. But after the drugs, I still played it, and it was still fun. So not too bad.
Well, you're the only person who can give it a reasonable rating. So
yeah, it's a very strong argument. Anyway, does it go in ahead of Transistor? Does it go that high?
I think it goes ahead of Transistor, but I don't know if I can. We're in this weird situation with Crash Bandicoot because Crash is such a classic for so many reasons, and surprisingly enough, it's not that dissimilar in terms of like, it's a 3D game where you're bouncing around on stuff a little bit. Okay, maybe that's a bit of a stretch. I think it would have to be a very, very strong game to get a unanimous, like to get a single voter on a Tournament of Lies to get it into the top 4 or 3. Okay, what I will say actually, and I think this is probably evocative of what you felt with Transistor, is that expectation is like a massive part of how much you enjoy something or not. Sure. And I think you had an expectation of Transistor being really high, James, and it wasn't, and that's probably why you felt more disappointed. I had like really low expectations for Sunset Overdrive, so I was actually like a large part of how happy I am about this is that it was so much better than what I was expecting. I mean, it's not the like best game ever made by any fucking means, and it will be forgotten, but it's super good. I think it goes on number 5 above Transistor and underneath Crash.
It's fair.
Take that Transistor art off your wall. Get yourself a get a Slurm poster and
Slurm. What's it called? It's called Overcharge, I think is what it's called.
Have Duffman there selling it and having a radical time. Beer pong will be set up in the background next time. It'll be ready to go. No, honestly, I'm bummed that it's an exclusive because I'll never get an Xbox One. I think if I was given one, it would just gather dust.
Yeah.
So hopefully in the future they'll do like a 4K remix or something.
They really, really should. Like Insomniac, like they're not exactly bringing out barn burners either. Like they should probably do that. I think it would probably benefit them. But yeah, there you go. You can pick it up. It's for free. Actually, we're now in April or May technically, so it's no longer on Games for Gold. But you should be able to get it pretty cheap on Amazon. I think I got it for like $12 or something new.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Yeah, super cheap. Likely because it was free on Xbox Live Games for Gold. All right, so that's our episode this week, gents. We've got 18 on the list now. You guys happy with how that's gone down so far?
Yeah,
yes, for the most part. I mean, yes, we have to be infallible, so the list is the list. It's fantastic.
Yeah, we can't second guess any of our absolutely perfect decisions so far.
I may get a few eyebrow raises myself looking at this list, but I'm sure it all made sense at the time. So.
Yeah, I'm feeling that a little bit myself. It should be interesting when we get to the next group. Okay, so I guess that's the sort of the shorter version of the episode. We're running about 40 minutes actually, so not that short, which is pretty cool. Of this week's episode of A Tournament of Lies. If you have any suggestions yourself, send them to lies@atournamentoflies.com. I will attempt to get the list up on that site as well. And there's a Google Doc which we have open to share as well, which I will put in the comments of this bad boy too. Thank you so much for watching. Dennis and James, thank you as ever for hanging out and getting through this. We've got another one to do by next week, so that'll be super fun. Thank you so much everyone who sent in their suggestions. We will attempt to get through as many of those as possible. But as you know, the list it's getting more difficult now to place them than it even was at the start. So we'll have to see. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time on a tournament of lies.
Thank you.